Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, to the Perfect One, to the rightly awakened One. Homage and salutations to our teacher, Most Venerable Acharya Buddharakkhita Bhadabhante. Homage to Abbot and the members of the Sangha, and dear Venerable monks and nuns, Upasakas and Upasikas. Lots of blessings to everybody, and we welcome once again for this Sunday Dhamma program. We are in the third week of Vasana Kala, the rainy season. This is the third Sunday, and as you know, Vasa is a period of our Dhamma contemplation, our reflections. For the monks as well as for the ladies, we take up this time for our developing the inner, strengthening our virtue, strengthening our concentration, strengthening our insights, deeper insights. Vasa is a time to practice a virtue, a sila regularly. Also, Vasa is a time for meditation, as you have been coming here regularly, and some of our devotees, they are also regular online, watching our programs and listening to the Dhamma very regularly. Keeping that in mind, we have started a series of talk, Dhamma Desana, on the theme called Reflection and Practice of Paramis. Last 2 weeks, previous weeks, we have discussed about Dana Parami, the perfection of generosity. And then the very last week, Bhante Ananda taught you very excellently. He preached about the Sila Parami. And Bhante has also given an introduction about what actually the Parami is. What does this parami does? What are the functions of this paramis? What are the characteristics of the paramis? How does this paramis manifest within ourselves, in what form? And then what is the proximate cause of those of parami? And you learned about how the Buddhas in his lifetime, how he has perfected the paramis over the innumerable period of time. Today, I will be talking about the perfection of renunciation, renunciation. So what motivates the enlightenment being? What motivates the Bodhisattva to take up this very difficult path, to take up this challenging path, the task to attain the Buddhahood? Why enlightenment being, a Bodhisattva, a future Buddha, why he would take up this hard treading path? If you reflect and study the life of the Buddha, there are two very interesting, very dominant factors which give impetus to a Bodhisattva to go forth, to go forth in cultivating his paramis. That is how in Pali it is come like this. Dayaya parami chitva, panya attanang uddhari sabbadhammecha, daya annencha uddhari. Panyasa sabbadhammesu karuna sabbajantusu attathanang parathanang sadhika gunajatika. That is the qualities of a Buddha. Dayaya parami chitva. Why the Bodhisattva fulfill the parami? Just because of the compassion. And this compassion is not just compassion, it is Mahakaruna, the great compassion, Mahakaruna. So Karuna Sabbajantu, so out of boundless compassion for all living beings, all sentient beings, and having understood the Dhamma, having penetrated, having discovered this noble Dhamma, through wisdom, the Buddha can literally save the human beings or sentient beings. Buddha truly is a liberator. How he liberates? He liberates through his wisdom. He liberates himself by wisdom, and he can bring about the liberation among others. Now, this is the two very important qualities of a bodhisattva, by which he take off that Buddhahood, the path of Buddhahood, from the time of Lord Dipankara, when he received the prophecy, until down the line to his last birth as Prince Siddhartha, in this life. He had cultivated all these greatest virtues, all these great perfections. Out of that, one is called renunciation, the perfection of giving up. Now, if you look at the Buddha's own life in this present existence, the Bodhisattva Siddhartha, he had brought up, he was to be a king, he was to be an emperor, Chakravarti, and he had all the refinements, all the refinest luxuries one can think about. Being born as a prince in the kingdom of Sakyans, he was the heir apparent and about to become a Chakravarti. His father had built him 3 great palaces, one for rainy season, one from winter, and from summer season. And he has never has seen what is called suffering. He's never know what is dukkha, actually. That much of luxurious life he was bestowed with, he was gifted with due to his own perfection, one paramis. From the time of his birth, if you see the time when he renounced the world, what a life he has led. But all these great splendor and luxuries and refinements, all these great sense pleasures has never satisfied his curious mind. Because he always wanted to know the life beyond the palace. Because when Suddhodana got to know that his son has potentiality, he can either become a Chakravarti or he may renounce the household life. If you come across the predicaments of life or the realities of life, birth, old age, death, then you're surely going to leave this world and be a monk, be a renunciant. One who renounces, become a renunciant. But there is no doubt there is a sukha in the household life. It is called gihi sukha. Gihi sukha. That means when we are surrounded by all the sensual pleasures through our eyes, through our ear, nose, tongue and body, and through our mental concept, there is no doubt happiness. But these happiness are subject to change. They are impermanent. We know that. Many times we only see one side of the things. We think that this happiness will last for a long time, imagining that these are permanent. But sooner or later it just changed. Since it is changed, and there is suffering is right there within that change, suffering inherent within that. But our desire is so strong, our karma, was so strong that we couldn't able to perceive the pain. We couldn't perceive the danger behind that. So that is how we perpetuate our existences through our sense basis. Now here the Bodhisattva also sees all these sukhas, but these sukhas that never have any impact on him. He never satisfied. So when Suddhodana built all this and make sure that whenever the Bodhisattva go out, there's no person to be seen. Old age is out of the scene. a sick person never to be seen in the city, old age or dead body not to be seen. So he made all these arrangements for him because the Bodhisattva wanted to go out and see. And when he go out, but inevitably we see that. For example, in our daily life also, we don't want to see that. But that is the reality. Even though we don't want to see this fact, but the fact is we have to face these situations. So they are called the niyamas, the four great signs. When the Bodhisattva encountered an old age, old man, and he just inquired, am I going to be old? My wife going to be old? My father and mother going to be old? Yes, certainly. Everybody on this earth is going to be old. Similarly, sickness is there. As long as we have the body, as long as we are in this world, we have to face the sickness. Jara, jati, jara, badhi, and then marana. See, when our khandas are grown old, it's not that we bodies, we die or somebody, a self dies. No, our khanda dies, our aggregate dies because our aggregates grown older and older. It no longer support each other. It just disintegrate. It disintegrations or to an end of the living force, the longevity. Then we call that as death. But death doesn't stop there. Death means again in appearing, rebirth. So these are the stages of life. And when the Bodhisattva came across all these different stages of life, and he also saw a peaceful and serene renunciant, a monk who actually have given up, who has detached himself and put on an ochre robe and living on one meal. He cut down his desire, he let go, he's letting go, and and he is at ease. So when Bodhisattva sees this, the figure of a monk, that is how he chose that path. That is how he see the blessings of renunciation. That is how he finally, go forth in the search of truth on the Asala full moon day. That is how we also commemorate that day, the day of great renunciation of Lord Buddha. Now, his renunciation is incomparable in the history of mankind. Nobody have ever been courageous to renounce. Renunciation at its highest level, a paramatha Nekkhamma, not just ordinary Nekkhamma. For us, the Nekkhamma is a sort of letting go of our pleasures, but that too we don't want that. We don't even get ready to renounce certain things. For example, you also come here to the vihara. You also have to practice renunciations at your own level. You have to give your time. You have to let go of your family. You have to let go of your responsibility, your duties, your work, and then come here. To coming here, it is renunciation, practice of renunciation. Leaving your home for a certain time, coming to the vihara for a few hours, even though it's a few hours, is a renunciation. So renunciation has got three different levels. One called just parami, renunciation, not just renunciation, giving up your time, giving up your wealth, giving up your material things, your physical level, giving up. Then renunciation comes as a upaparami, for the sake of renunciation, you are ready to pay any price, you can even surrender your limbs, you can just don't care your body, your bodily organs. You can, to keep off the renunciation, you can go to any extreme, that is called upaparami. And the renunciation, not to even care your own life. For the sake of your own life, when you go forth, you are no longer bounded or by any sort of sensual pleasures or gratification, you just take off your undertaking. You're so firm, your intent, that you just give off, just let go. So here we see the quality of renunciation is actually a greatest blessing. It's a great virtue. And it is to be practiced all the followers, not only for the monks, even for the lay people, as you upasakas and upasikas also have to practice the Nekkhamma Sukha. So what is this perfection of renunciation? You know, in the commentary, it comes like this, the Charya Pitaka. It says, in the consequence of seeing the danger involved in sense desires, the consequence of seeing the danger in sense desire, and also the resultant continuation of life itself, bhava, continuously coming into being again and again in the samsara, then an intention with a strong, firm commitment, well guarded by compassion, compassion and wisdom, a thought of renunciation occurred. It generated to let go, That is called the perfection of renunciation. We know the dangers involved in our day-to-day life, in our sensual pleasures or sense gratification. It is not the sense object is the problem. The problem is our desire to that. The object remains beautiful, but your own gratification or craving makes us so, it just leads us to more crave for that, make our existence, our samsaric existence more stronger and stronger. And that is to samsaric existence means you are bound by suffering. You have to suffer again and again. So to perceive that danger in sense, desire, and to see that bhava, jati, to become again and again, that is how thought of to let it go that occurs. For example, you also see fed up in your daily life. You see the everything daily, the same routine you do. You say, oh no, this world is so terrible. I don't want to stay in this home for a while. At least I'll go to Vihara and find some peace. So you renounced, right? You renounce, right? So this pleasure is something just like a cobra, like a snake. If you catch on the head of it, then it will also bite you. When you catch in the tail also, it has to bite you. So what you do is just to drop it, just to letting go. So the quality of letting go is renunciation. It's not that you give off everything at once, and that simply cannot happen. You can't simply perfect like Bodhisattva. So to practice that renunciation, you have to understand that. As a layperson, you have to practice renunciation in your own way. Right? We can't expect that you just have to become a monk, because to become a monk is not an easy job at all. To be a monk also, you have to practice renunciation. To be a monk, you have to practice renunciation at your house, at your home. If you can let go your simple things, how to let go a big chunk of your name and fame, your family, your positions, everything? You just throw it. Just like useless thing. You don't look at that, So the question comes that how do you understand perfections? There are four things. The characteristics of perfection is the worldly life itself. When you see the worldly life is characterized by more or less unsatisfactoriness and miseries. It may look like a very fruit-laden tree, open tree, but actually it is besieged by a lot of problems, So when you see the danger in the world life, then the thought renunciation occurs. And the thought function is, that is the function. When you see the danger, that is the function of renunciation. If you can see the danger, then you simply cannot let go. Similarly, the manifestation of this Nekkhamma is giving up. As I said, letting go. Letting go, for example, how do you let go? You just take a piece of paper and write down the things you want to cut down. What are the things you want to give up? Let's say you are a very talkative person. You find delight, you find pleasures in talking so on and on and on, aimlessly and endlessly. You just go on talking. You like that. So for you can't even renounce that chattering mind. For you, that is renunciation. A person who is habituated with telling lies. He can't even speak truth. Speaking, when you renounce the lies, when you see the danger in lies and then give up, and then you come to a stage that you let go. That is the renunciation. Renouncing your wrong speech, renouncing your harsh speech, renouncing the frivolous, unnecessary speech. That is renunciation. Renunciation in a simple term. Don't think about renounce your house or life and come to Vihara, I want to be a monk. Some people come here, they say, oh, I want to be a monk. Just suddenly. It actually happened that something had happened at home and they generate that vairagyam. Let's say you go to a smasanam and then you see certain things and you feel disenchanted. You want to be a monk, but that is not the real renunciation. That's not real renunciation. Renunciation, as I say, should be based on that well-guarded intention, getting that highest wisdom, to be enlightened. That is the real and highest renunciation. So renunciation can be practiced through your speech. So through your bodily level, you can also do renunciation, right? How do you do through your body? For example, you are not following precepts, right? Some or other way you try to follow the first precept or second precept, then you break the other one, right? You can't really cope up with your practice of silas. That is how renunciation works. Renunciation actually helps to protect the sila. When you just let go, you let go your wrongful behavior, micha ajiva, micha charita. When you give up the ducharita and develop the right sucharitam, then you renounce. You have to renounce certain things. So renunciation through your unskillful behavior. Say you irritate somebody with your action in your family, maybe the children, they irritate the parents, right? If they give up that behavior, the wrong behavior, the parents should not be agitated. That means you are at ease, at peace in a family. It may be a person who is really every day, if he from the morning till evening, he is breaking some or other precepts. Then he take a note of it. Well, my behavior is not really good. I have to practice sila. I have to renounce my wrong behavior. I have to give up this bad conduct. Through body, panatipata, adinandana, kamesamichachara. You take a precept, let's say you take 8 precepts and you follow at least for a day or for a weekly or on full moon days, new moon day, you observe the sila of celibacy. You renounced it. You renounce your enjoyment, you renounce your pleasures, and you feel happy, you feel joyful. That is a renunciation for you. You renounce not taking food after midday. You give it up, right? That helps you. That makes your mind more calmer. That strengthens the mind. That is how we can practice renunciation to the body. Well, now, how do you practice renunciation through your own mind then? Mind, if in a gross level, you can observe your body, you can see what are the things I have to let go. But in the mind, you have to let go constantly your mental defilements. Every moment you are experiencing lova, you are experiencing raga, you are experiencing anger, you are experiencing delusion. Every moment, right? How the mind gets tainted with the sense impressions, how you generate the thoughts of either greed, lova, you see something pleasant, and then greed appears. But that is the moment you have to see the danger in that. You have to see the danger in the karma, in the sensual pleasures, and you give it up. When anger appears in the mind, you have to give up. And then when delusions, ignorance appears in the mind, you have to give up. Let go. So in meditation, the process of meditation, what you do is just renounce. So renunciation here, it is not about physical, material renunciation. That is just external. There is something much more than that. It's called the internal renunciation. You can be a renunciate. You all are renunciate. One who renounces is a renunciate. Monks are doing a higher kind of renunciation because they have more paramis, they have more perfections, right? They have practiced so long, life after life. That's why they have that privilege of, getting renounced everything, just to contemplate on the robe and pindapath, medicines and vihara, that's all. We can leave aside all those things and live happily, because life here is, monk's life is, if you say, it is nothing but life of renunciation. Life of renunciation. But for the lay people, it is absolutely challenging, difficult to leave behind everything, right? So that's a gradual process. If the nibbana is a gradual process of enlightenment, you have to practice this renunciation in your daily life, right? Till your time, till your parami gets full, till you are ready to receive the Dhamma, then you can join the Sangha. Okay. Some people think that I will renounce the world, I will be a monk. Well, even though they think like that, but actually that doesn't happen. Even though they come here for a day, I have also seen some people, they come just for one day, they say, we will be a monk. Okay, fine. Come, we will give you the robe and bowl, everything. Okay, this is your bowl, this is your robe. Stay here, sleep on the floor. Get up in the morning at 3 o'clock. Come to puja, come for meditation. 1 meal a day till the evening comes. Till evening, 1 day, they cannot even live in monastery. Imagine. Life, people think renunciation is really easy. It may be the physical body is aloof from the society. We may physically away from home, but our mind constantly quivers, constantly agitated with all these sensual pleasures. Because of that sensual gratification, we don't find delight in monastery. But whereas the Buddha, the monks, they find delights in vihara or even a forest or even under the root of a tree, under the foot of a tree. They find happiness. How? That is called Nekkhamma Sukha. That is the delight in renunciation. Right? There was a very interesting episode in Anguttara Nikaya. You might have heard this example. The Buddha, how he lived peacefully without nothing, absolutely nothing. Can you imagine? You can live happily without nothing, right? Without no possessions, nothing, absolutely. With just a set of robe and bowl, you don't know where to stay the next morning. You have total detachment. but still you have that satisfaction. One day, early in the morning in Savasti, very cold, bitter cold in northern India, because winter is very, very severe and harsh. Buddha was actually slept under a tree. He just spread, and that place is, a lot of cattle, there's a cattle going field, and it was very rough and coarse, and no shade on the top. He just spread a dry leaves under the tree, and spread his robe, and resting on his right side, Buddha was just in samadhi. He was enjoying the bliss. So, and then one Upasaka from Alavi, he came and he says, "Oh Lord, have you slept nicely, peacefully?" See, how is the sleep? It is so bitter cold, and it is snowing, freezing literally. You have nothing with this simple double robe, with these dry leaves as your mattress, and nothing on the top of you. But still, do you sleep well? He says, yes. Buddha said, yes, the Tathagatas always sleep happily and peacefully. Why? Because they have renounced the real cause of our dissatisfaction. They renounced the source of agitation. Even though a person may be sleeping with all the luxuries, everything, having all the form of enjoyments, but still one can sleep happily. One can really sleep peacefully with a sound, a deep sleep. Why? Because there is greed is there, attachment is there, there is anger, there is also ignorance. Because of binded by this craving and ignorance, we don't find happiness even in the luxurious houses, luxurious places with all our facilities. But when you practice this letting go, when you practice meditation, when you develop the contemplation of renunciation can be a contemplation also. It's a parami. Parami is a meditation also. When you practice this renunciation at your home, you can really, believe me, you can sleep happily, right? You can sleep happily, and contentment, absolute contentment will be there. You'll be sleep happily and with contentment. So at the mental level, what I'm trying to say is, if this is the renunciation of Buddha, even so also the monks, there was a monk called Venerable Buddhaya. Buddhaya was a monk who was actually a prince. He was prince, and he gave up all his princely kingdom and everything. And because those days, most of the Buddha's disciples, they came from very highly affluent society, even from the Sakyan and Magadhas, Koliyas, and many places. So this Vadya, when he became monk, wherever he goes, he says, "Aho sukhang, aho sukhang, aho sukhang." What happiness, what happiness. If you go to a cave, what a bliss. If you go to a forest, what a bliss. You go to a monastery, what a bliss. But his brothers, all the Bhantes, they were doubtful. Well, Venerable Bhadia is saying like this, is it true that really he is experiencing something within, or he's remembering or recollecting his previous, all the pleasures he had gone through? Because he was prince, so he brought up in very, in a lavish way. So he had seen all the pleasures of life. So these Bhantes, they went to the Buddha and said, "Oh Lord, Bhadia is explaining like this, aho sukhang, aho sukhang." So is that true? So then the Buddha, called on this Venerable Bhadia and said, "Bhadia, all your brother monk are saying that you are exclaiming that aho sukhang. In what sense? What do you mean that aho sukhang? Why you say aho sukhang?" He says, "Oh Lord, I am not remembering my past happiness, but I am just so happy and so blissful with this renunciation, with this life renunciation. I have absolutely no worry, no obstructions, no fear at all. When I used to be a prince, even though I have everything, my guards are guarding all the time, all the doors are closed, very safe, but still I'm constantly tormented and agitated, no happiness. I live with fear all the time. But this life is so free. My mind is so free and so blissful. That is how I explained aho sukhang, like that. So you can see that bliss of renunciation. So here, we are almost coming to close of the time, but this is such a big topic. Actually, practice of renunciation is really very interesting. Now, in many of the Jataka stories you have already seen, and maybe you have heard about the Makhadeva Jataka or Kimi Jatakas, the Buddha's in the previous birth stories. Even Makhadeva, he was a prince, he was a king, and he ruled his country for 84,000 years, right? As a young age 84,000, old middle age 84, and in the old age also 84,000 years. So long years to rule. But in one fine day, he says, he called his barber and says, my good friend, if you see a single gray hair on my head, just one gray hair, that you just inform me. Just one gray hair, if you see, pluck it up. So, sir, you have this gray hair has appeared. So one day it so happened, this barber shivered and he went to the king and he said, just one single gray hair. And he plucked it out and keep it in a golden bowl and say, oh, Majesty, your gray hair has appeared now. So immediately when that gray hair has appeared, the king's entire body becomes severed. He was so tormented and is sweating all over the body. And he says, oh, the messenger of Yama has appeared now. The messenger has appeared. The time for me to renounce the world has appeared. So then immediately he decided that to renounce the world, and he retired to his mango forest, and be an ascetic. He led a renunciant life and practice Dhamma. He gave up his kingdom, he gave up his country, his countrymen, his family, his royalties, everything. He gave up. And just be a simple monk, just by seeing that gray hair. Gray hair means the messenger of death has come. So he can perceive the danger. He can perceive, well, nobody's escaped from this cycle, this vicious cycles. So the only security, the only place is to renounce and lead a monk life. That is how, in this example, you can imagine how the Bodhisattva practiced this Nekkhamma Parami. So there are many such like Mahajanaka Jataka also you can read, Sonaka Jataka, Hathipala Jataka, Somanasa Jataka, Ayoghara Jataka. In all these places, these episodes, how the Bodhisattva renounced the loftiest positions, the place of a king, or even the wealthiest man, or even the very influential person, even the highest position of divinities. He also surrendered that, give up that, and went up to the Himalayas, to practice. That is how, throughout his life, Bodhisattva could practice the renunciation until this present life, where he renounced as his princely, Siddhartha princely kingdom, and become a Buddha, a Sammasambuddha. So there is no hurry. You can start the renunciation from now. Renounce a little bit more. Renounce for your own good. Renounce that evil things. Renounce that you should renounce through your body, renounce through your speech, renounce through your mind. When you practice the renunciation, you can actually know and see the Dhamma. You realize the Dhamma in your life. Since we are not ready to renounce, the realization is become farther and farther. You can see and realize the Dhamma. So, dear Dhamma friends, I will not take much time. I will leave at this point today. We will pick up the thread from the coming week. The coming week, we will discuss even another parami, Panya Parami, the perfection of wisdom. So I hope you understood what do you renounce? What is the meaning of renunciation in true sense? You see? So practice this renunciation in your everyday life, in your day-to-day life. Don't accept that the big leap will happen, that you will be a monk and enlightened. That will take time, you see. To reach that, you have to go through the process. You have to go through these steps, right? So paramis are the ladders. The paramis are the yardsticks that measures your potentiality, that measures that how far you have advanced to attain the perfections. So, dear friends, please map yourself, just map your mind. You don't map anything, you map your mind, you map your actions, you map your speech every day. What are the things are unwholesome, you give up, you let that go, right? What are the wholesome, you cultivate that. Purify the mind. Ultimately, then renunciation will happen. The ultimate renunciation will happen. So with this, I conclude today's Dhamma Desana here. I bless everybody for listening, and I share all my punya with every one of you. May you all grow in blessings and in Dhamma. May by the power of Lord Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, by the blessings of a teacher, may you all be well and happy and continue to perfect your paramis till the time when you attain to the bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.